The pink dress. For my daughter Maya's 8th birthday, my parents sent her a gift, a pink dress, carefully wrapped and shipped from across the city. When it arrived, Maya was overjoyed. She loved receiving packages almost as much as she loved opening them. She held the dress up against herself and twirled, watching the hem sweep in a soft, graceful circle. She was beaming. And then, just as suddenly as she had started spinning, she stopped. She stared at the front of the dress, her small eyebrows knitting together in confusion. "Mommy," she said quietly, "what is this?" I walked over, leaned in, and looked closer. Stitched neatly in white cursive thread just above the chest were 2 words, Little Emily. My hands began to shake before my mind had even fully processed what I was reading. The fabric rippled between my trembling fingers. It was not the same dress I remembered, not exactly, but it was close enough that my body recognized it before my brain could catch up. Same soft pink color, same delicate collar, same embroidered stars scattered along the hem like a night sky sewn into the fabric. "Is it a mistake?" Maya asked. "Did they think I was someone else? Who's Emily?" I did not answer her, not out loud. I simply said, firmly but without sharpness, "You're not wearing it." I took the dress from her hands, walked into the bedroom, and shut the door behind me. I sat on the edge of the bed, the dress still in my lap, and I stared at that name until my vision blurred. We do not speak about Emily in our house, not because it is forbidden, but because we know better. A celebration that was never mine. Emily is my sister. She is 2 years older than me, and from the very beginning, the space between us felt less like 2 years and more like an entire lifetime. She was the kind of person who could walk into any room and leave with everyone's admiration tucked quietly into her back pocket. Teachers leaned in when she spoke. Strangers smiled at her unprompted. She carried a warmth and a magnetism that I spent years trying to understand and even longer trying to replicate. I remember the first time I truly understood what it meant to stand in her shadow. It was my 6th birthday. My parents had invited family over, aunts, cousins, neighbors who were not really close friends, but who always seemed to appear whenever my mother sent an invitation, because she had a particular talent for making people feel obligated. I had been looking forward to that day for weeks. But the party had barely started when the attention shifted. Emily had just been accepted into a youth dance program, something with a name like Sparkle Academy or Star Steps, one of those glittery, enthusiastic names that immediately commands a room. She came out wearing a pink dress, soft, beautiful, full of embroidered stars. Everyone clapped. Someone pulled out a camera. My mother beamed as though she herself had been given an award. I stood at the edge of the room holding a juice box, watching it all unfold. At some point, I walked up to my mother and tugged gently at her sleeve. "It's my birthday," I said, as quietly and as carefully as I could. She did not even look at me. "Don't make this about you," she said. I walked back to the couch and sat down. I remember the feeling clearly, not anger, not tears, just a slow and heavy understanding settling into my chest like something cold. I was not angry at Emily. She had not done anything wrong. But I understood for the first time that no matter how hard I tried, I was not the one the world would choose to look at. She was not cruel. She simply absorbed all the light, and the rest of us got used to squinting. The brand that never existed. Years passed. We grew up. Emily moved through life the way she always had, quickly, brightly, never staying anywhere long enough to put down roots. She drifted between jobs and cities and relationships, always charming, always just passing through. And then one day, she announced that she was starting a business. Not just any business, a brand. It was going to be fashion-forward, she said, ethically sourced, high impact. She showed us a beautifully designed website filled with professionally photographed samples and carefully written descriptions of handmade pieces. She spoke with the confidence and vocabulary of someone who had done this before. She had suppliers, she said. She had customers already waiting. She just needed capital to scale up production. She was very clear that it was not a loan. It was an investment. She promised a full return within a year, maybe even triple, depending on how quickly the second collection launched. The first requests were small. A few $100s here, 1,000 there. She sent updates regularly, screenshots, what looked like invoices, messages from supposed buyers. Everything seemed legitimate. Then the asks grew larger. A boutique in Los Angeles had placed a bulk order, she said. She needed to front the manufacturing costs immediately. Then there was a showroom in New York and an influencer who wanted exclusivity. Each story was just plausible enough to believe. We believed her. My parents gave what they could. I gave more than I should have, not just because she was my sister, but because I still, somewhere deep down, believed that when she shone, we all got a little of that light. Then she stopped responding. Messages went unanswered. Calls went to voicemail. She said she was overwhelmed, that she needed more time, that there were delays. And then she went entirely silent, and the money went with her. At first, we told ourselves something must have happened. Some emergency, some crisis, but nothing came. What did come eventually was a short letter. She had moved abroad. She needed space and time. She hoped we would understand. No explanation, no apology, just that. And then, slowly and painfully, we began to understand the rest. There was no business. There were no suppliers, no orders, no production, no collections. There was only a website, and behind it, nothing. She had taken everything we gave her and spent it not on the business, but on herself. On travel, on hotels, on gifts and experiences we would never know the details of. She vanished and left us holding the damage. The financial loss was devastating enough, but it did not stop there. I began receiving calls about accounts I had never opened, credit cards I had never applied for. She had taken out loans in my name. Small ones at first, then larger, always one step ahead. The police said it was a civil matter. The bank said it was my word against hers. And so the debt sat there, accumulating interest, while I tried to figure out how to breathe. The one who stayed. My parents were broken, or so they told me repeatedly, as though saying it enough times would help me forget that they had been the ones to hand her the tools. I did not say that out loud. Instead, I stepped in. I picked up extra shifts. I covered part of their mortgage. I paid their overdue bills one by one until my hands shook at the end of every month from exhaustion rather than grief. I told myself we were all in this together. I told myself we had all been hurt the same way. I told myself that what I was doing mattered, that it was seen, that it meant something. And then the comments began. Maya looks just like Emily did at that age. She has the same spark. Maybe she'll dance too. At first, I thought it was just nostalgia talking. Then the gifts started arriving, books, outfits, a soft but unmistakable push toward familiar shapes and old stories. And then came the dress. I sat on the edge of that bed for a long time, holding it. I was not crying. I was not yelling. I was simply very, very still. And in that stillness, something became clear to me that I had spent years refusing to see. I had never been the daughter they were trying to keep. I had been the daughter they were trying to use. I picked up my phone. I opened my banking app, then another, then another. One by one, I canceled the grocery card reloads. I canceled the monthly transfers. I canceled the half payment I had been making toward their mortgage. It was quiet, almost mechanical, like deleting old voicemails you no longer need to hear. The note, the drive, and the door. The next morning, I woke before the sun. Maya was still asleep. My husband was in the kitchen making coffee, already dressed, already moving. He looked at me when he saw the dress in my hands. "You sure?" he asked. I nodded. "I won't be long." I folded the dress into a plain brown paper bag and added a handwritten note. 3 sentences, each one heavier than it looked. "You lost one daughter. I'm the one who stayed. You just never noticed. Don't contact me again. I'm not covering your debts anymore. If you want someone to bail you out, ask Emily." The drive was quiet. Their house looked exactly the same as it always had: the overgrown rosemary bush by the front gate, the cracked flower pot on the step, the dent in the garage door from the year my father backed out too fast on New Year's Eve. I parked, walked to the porch, set the bag down, and walked away. No doorbell. No knock. Just me, and then the sound of my own footsteps leaving. The first call came at 9:42 in the morning. By 10 o'clock, I had 6 missed calls. By 11, I had stopped counting. I listened to one voicemail, just one. My mother's voice, sharp with disbelief. "What is this? You're returning a birthday gift. What kind of message is that?" My father grumbling in the background. "What does she mean she's not paying anymore?" At 12:27, I picked up. I am still not entirely sure why. Perhaps I wanted to hear them say it to my face. Perhaps I wanted the chance to say something back. "You're being cruel," my mother said immediately. "You're punishing us for something that wasn't our fault." "She fooled all of us," I said, "and yet somehow I'm still the one paying for it." "She's your sister. She was your favorite." There was a pause, and then, "We lost her." "You didn't lose her," I said. "She stole everything you gave her and ran. Those are different things. And now you're going to take Maya from us, too." I let that sit for a moment. "You don't want Maya," I said at last. "You want Emily. You're just trying to find her in someone else's child." "That's not fair." "No," I agreed. "What's not fair is that I was the one who stayed. I worked 2 jobs. I sent money every month. I cleaned up the mess she made of your lives and my own. And none of it was ever enough for you, was it?" Silence. "Name one time," I said, "that you looked at me and didn't see a disappointment." More silence, and then, "You're being dramatic." "I'm being done." I hung up, then I blocked the number. The call I never expected. I thought it was over. I thought the worst had already come and gone. I was wrong. A few days later, an unknown number called late in the afternoon. I almost did not answer, but I did. "Hey." I froze. I had not heard that voice in 5 years, but my body recognized it immediately. "Emily." "I heard you cut them off," she said. "No hello, no apology, no warmth, just that." "They told you." "Yeah, we've been talking." A pause. "I've been talking to them for a while, actually." And there it was, the piece I had never thought to ask about. The part no one had bothered to mention. All those years I had been sending money, paying bills, covering their debts, believing I was helping them survive, and they had been quietly funneling it to her. "Where have you been?" I asked. "Around." "You vanished. You stole from us. You opened accounts in my name. Do you have any idea what that did to my life? I couldn't qualify for a mortgage. I worked 2 jobs for years. I put everything I wanted on hold because of what you did, and you disappeared." She breathed in sharply, but said nothing. "You ruined us," I said, low and flat, "and then you left." After a long silence, she said, "They need you. They're getting older. Things aren't easy." "Then why don't you help them?" Another pause. "It's complicated. Things have been tight." You were always the stable one, she said. I stared at the floor. Was I, or was I just the one you could always count on to pick up the pieces? They don't say it, but they appreciate what you've done. I just thought you should know they're struggling. I already know. Then why cut them off? Because I'm tired, I said. Everyone gets tired, she replied, and for just a moment she almost sounded human. But that doesn't mean you give up. No, I said, but it does mean I finally get to start choosing myself, something you've always been remarkably good at. She did not respond. Then, if you want to throw everything away because you're angry, that's on you. And she hung up. The morning at the door. There was one more confrontation before the silence finally settled. A knock at the door early in the morning. My husband opened it before I could stop him. My parents were standing on the porch. My mother was holding a cake box. My father stood behind her, stiff and uncertain, like a man waiting to be told what to feel. We just want to talk, my mother said. We don't want to fight. I did not invite them in. I stood in the kitchen doorway, coffee half poured, arms folded. You've been talking to Emily, I said. They didn't deny it. How long? Since that first year she left. I let that settle. So the whole time she needed you, and you needed money that you got from me, you were sending it to her. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. My father finally spoke. She's in trouble, real trouble. She's scared. She's always scared, I said. She made mistakes, yes, but I'm your daughter. I'm the one who stayed. I'm the one who helped. And you let me believe I was helping you when the whole time I was helping her. You just didn't say it out loud. We didn't know how to tell you. I almost laughed. You watched me work 2 jobs. You watched me cover your bills. You said thank you with a straight face while wiring money to the person who caused all of this. My mother said quietly, she's our daughter too. So am I. My husband had not said a word since opening the door. He stepped forward now, arms folded, gaze steady. I think it's time for you to leave, he said. They left without arguing. They looked at me on their way out as though I was the one who had broken something. Maybe I had, but whatever it was, it had already been hollow for a long time. What came after? It has been over a year. I have not spoken to them since that morning. No calls, no texts, nothing in either direction. I heard through a distant relative that Emily came back, things abroad had not worked out. When the money stopped, the stability went with it. She is living with them now. They are selling the house. Too many bills, too much to maintain. It is not the first time she has left them with nothing, but it may be the first time they have been forced to truly reckon with it. I did not ask where they are moving. I do not want to know. Maya does not ask about them anymore. For a while, she would ask small, quiet questions, whether her grandmother would come to her next recital, whether we would visit for the holidays. After a while, the questions stopped. Children understand more than we give them credit for. She felt the shift before I ever explained it, and she adjusted with the kind of quiet grace that still takes my breath away. Now it is just the 3 of us. We make pancakes on Sunday mornings. Maya plays music far too loudly while she brushes her teeth, and neither of us tells her to turn it down. My husband fixed the cabinet hinge that had been broken for 2 years. I sleep, real, deep sleep, the kind where you wake up and feel as though you have landed somewhere solid, somewhere safe. There is no pink dress in the closet. There are no comparisons hanging in the air, no shadows stretching into our home from someone else's story. Just Maya, being entirely and completely herself. Just me, finally becoming something other than the daughter who stayed and was never seen. It is not a perfect ending. Some days it does not feel like an ending at all, but it is mine. And for the first time in a very long time, that is more than enough.